guys, it is so awesome to be with you. Do you know what today marks? 113 days since we got to join forces together, Amazing Life in Orange, and it has been a roller coaster of a couple of months. And so I'm super excited to spend some time together to share a little bit about where we're going as an organization and to partner with you in the single greatest mission that could ever exist on this planet, which is to help young people come to follow Jesus as their Lord and Savior. And so this is why I'm here. I am super pumped up. It could be the 4 Celsiuses that I had before I came out here, or it could just be that I'm in love with this mission to come and spend some time with you. So you're probably wondering, I talk a little funny. This is my family. I just want to introduce them. This is my beautiful wife, Sarah, my oldest son, Micah, who's almost 13, CJ, I'm going to talk about him in just a little bit. He's 10. And then Hannah, my youngest, please pray for me. She is, I got to tell you, this is not on the script, but don't worry. I came downstairs on Wednesday morning and I was making her breakfast and she came and I said, "There's my favorite girl." And she looks at me straight in the face and she goes, "Your wife should be your favorite girl." I was like, "You're 7. And I said, "My wife is my favorite woman." I was defensive. So, this is what I've got. Please pray for me. I'm like learning to be a girl dad. It's a whole new experience. But this is my beautiful home country of New Zealand. This is the South Island of New Zealand. It is like the most beautiful place on earth, which is a lot like Dallas, Texas, which, yes, my Dallas people, which is now where I live. And New Zealand is just like Dallas, except it has a lot more sheep and a lot less guns. So that is now where I live, and so it's awesome to be in Atlanta with you guys. So today what I want to do is I want to share a little bit about me, because I want to just tell a little bit of my story. I want to share about who is Amazing Life, and then I'm going to get to share a little bit about where we're going as an organization and some of the cool things that we have planned that we get to introduce you to today. So I grew up in New Zealand, and when I was 2 years old, my parents got divorced. My father had a drinking problem. He cheated on my mother, so she kicked him out. And as part of all of that, we got introduced to the local Baptist church. And we started going along, and after a little while, my mum got saved. She became a follower of Jesus. And it was awesome. We got to go along. It was like expected that you went every single Sunday, unless you were coughing up the King James Bible, then you could not come. But other than that, we were Baptist, so we had to go. And so we went every single Sunday. And what I want to tell you about is 2 men who changed my life. And so through going to the local Baptist church, I remember we had this Sunday school teacher. His name was Craig Burnett, like Mr. Burnett. And the thing that made me impressed with him is he would show up every single week and he would be prepared. He was excited to see us. He would greet us. This was, I'm old. So I know I look young, but I'm really old. It's back in those days, he would have to, write all the notes out. And he showed up and he was just pumped to be there. He was pumped to share with me at 5, 6, 7 years old. He was excited to share the gospel with us. And I think about that all the time. I think about someone who shows up every single week who's so passionate about teaching kids how to become followers of Jesus that here we are 40 years later talking about Mr. Burnett. Now, I have this one memorable moment in Sunday school. He asked the kids in the class, "What are you most afraid of?" And of course you get the answers. One of the boys said he was afraid of girls. Some of the girls, they were afraid of spiders, But of course in New Zealand, one of the kids said, I'm afraid that I'm gonna climb up a tree and get stuck in it, and that my dad will come along and use a chainsaw to get me out of the tree. Like I said, I grew up in New Zealand, so just please don't judge me. And so this is kind of where I grew up. And so we were in that church until I was about to start high school. And my mother thought, look, I've got a son, he doesn't have a father, he's young and impressionable. And she looked at the youth leaders of the church and they partying and drinking, and she was worried. She's like, if my son goes to this youth group, then, I don't know what's gonna happen because he's gonna be around these bad influences. So she made the difficult decision to drive across town every weekend, and we started attending the Pentecostal church. And yeah, look, I've done them both, okay? We were from the Baptists to the Pentecostals. I remember the first time I showed up there, I thought they were like 7 bridges deep into the worship, and it was the first song. Like, it was, they were still singing the first song 7 times. So it was, quite the experience. But you know what I remember? That Sunday, there was one of the youth leaders. His name was Matt Berry. And Matt Berry was playing the drums. Like, he was there, and I was like, man, that is one cool dude. And so he came over to us after the service and introduced himself. And after that, he was like, hey, you're gonna come to the youth service in New Zealand? It was on Wednesday night. I was like, yeah, I'll be there. So I turned up on Wednesday night, and of course, who do I see as I walk in the door? There's Matt. He's like, Chris, it's so awesome. I'm like, I just met you once, man. How do you remember my name? Like, that was like impressive. And so we got to hang out with Matt, and he's like, hey, like, what are you interested in? And I was like, well, like, I'm kind of interested in computer games. He's like, hey, like, why don't you come hang out? Like, next Friday night, we can go hang out at like internet cafes. Okay, I'm really dating myself now. Back when, like, Awesome Source 381 would like own me on Counter-Strike. Yeah, some like 13-year-old kid is, anyway, some of you know what I'm talking about. Internet cafes, like they're in some basement somewhere, and anyway. So the best thing about Matt, though, was he didn't ask me anything about my faith. He didn't ask me if I was reading my Bible. He just asked me, like, how you doing? So we started to build this relationship together. And he started over time to say, hey, like, Chris, like, I'm reading this verse in my Bible this week. Why don't you read it too? And he's like, hey, like, when you come next week, I want you to tell me, like, what did you read in the Bible? And I was like, sure. So I went and bought all these concordances and Greek translations. I wanted to impress Matt. Like, I didn't even know what a concordance was. Again, like, this was before the internet, y'all. Like, I mean, come on. So I was like reading there, and I was like, I turned up and I was like, here's my exegesis on like the Bible, Matt. Like I was, 13. He's like, no, but Chris, like, what is this verse saying to you in your heart? Like, what is God leading you to understand and how to apply it? And I was like, that was a thing? Like, it's not just a head knowledge that you should understand. It's like, no, like, you have to understand that following Jesus means applying this to your life. And so over the course of months and months and months, and the 4 years that I spent with him in his youth group, this man cared for me, he invested in me, and he taught me what it meant to truly become a follower of Jesus. And so when people say to me, Chris, why are you here? What would cause you to want to take this role? The answer is because of 2 people, Mr. Burnett and Matt Berry. Because 2 people made an influence on my life. 2 people who cared enough for me during my formative years, because I didn't have a father, because I didn't have someone to teach me and explain to me all of the things that I needed to learn about what it meant to be a follower of Jesus. 2 people literally changed the course of my life so that I'm standing here today in no small part because of Mr. Burnett and Matt Berry. And so the question that I have to ask you, and the question that I ask myself when I come to work every single day is, what if there is a Chris in your community who needs someone to just simply come alongside them, to lead them, to guide them to follow Jesus, because people don't understand what it means unless we show them. And when I started this whole journey, trying to understand content, all of this stuff a few years ago, the thing that got my attention was I was reading my Bible, and in Acts chapter 8, there is the story of Philip and the Ethiopian. And this Ethiopian, this prominent person of the culture of the day, is going along the path. And God says to Philip, go down to that man. And this Ethiopian is reading the Bible. And Philip says to him, do you understand what you are reading? And the Ethiopian says these words, how will I understand unless there is someone to guide me? And that's what you all are. That is the role that you play. You get to guide people to help them become followers of Jesus. That is like the greatest single mission on the planet, and we get to come to work every day to play a part in that. Like, I'm inspired just to hang out with you guys. Like, this is awesome, yeah. Like, this is the single greatest mission that exists on the planet. And so I'm excited a little bit to share some brand new innovations with you. But the first thing I want to do, Leslie just gave a great announcement. I had no idea she was going to do that. But I want to talk to you about 5 anchors, okay? 5 anchors about where oranges come from, and some of the things that we believe, okay? So the first one I want to talk about is like, when people say what is changing and what's not changing. So the first one is, and I want to make these like 5 commitments that our whole team is going to make to you, all right? So 5 commitments. So the first thing that I want to commit to is to uphold Orange's 9 theological insights. So when we got here 113 days ago, the first thing we did is we started to understand like, what do we believe? And Orange had set out these incredible theological insights that explain like our statement of belief and what we stand for. And so we got together with our whole team, and we got to look at those together and say, do we believe these things are true? And what I want to affirm and endorse tonight is that we absolutely believe that these things are true and correct. And we're going to continue to make curriculum around those 9 theological insights, okay? The second thing that is not changing is we are going to continue to be world-class when it comes to excellence, especially in design and video content. All right. Now, I got a chance to lead a team. The previous organization I was part of was called PushPay. Some of you use it for giving and all of that. And the thing people used to ask me was this. They say, Chris, what made PushPay successful? I said, if I could boil it down to 2 things, it's this. It's number 1, we have the heart of a pastor. And number 2 is we have world-class excellence. We stand for world-class excellence. And both have to be true in order for us to achieve our mission. And so I've got a chance to meet the incredible team that was here previously. And they have been known for years at being truly world-class when it comes to creativity and expressing that in a truly world-class way. So that is not changing. Okay, number 3 is we are gonna commit to represent the communities that we serve through on-screen talent and the perspective of different writers, okay? So I think it's really important when we get to put folks on a screen that the people on the screen represent the communities that they come from and the communities that are watching the content that you get to serve and be in. And so we want to have a whole diverse range of people who are on the screen, and we are going to commit to have a diverse group of writers writing our content because we believe that is really, really important. Okay, so let's talk about 2 things that are changing. Okay, number 4, what's changing is we are going to increase the amount of biblical depth in our content. Yeah. And so I want to give you 3 really specific ways that we're going to do that, because I think it can mean so many different things to different people. All right? So the first one, and I got over the last 60 days specifically, I've got a chance to meet with 100 of you, 100 different churches, to understand and get your feedback about how we're doing. Are we doing good? Are we doing bad? And the number 1 piece of feedback that you told me was we want you to have more biblical depth in your content. And so we are gonna do that through 3 ways. The first way is we're gonna have biblical references included in the curriculum where it's appropriate to do so. Because I heard like so many times you told me like, we just spend time adding biblical references back into the curriculum. Can you just write it in there for us? Like, it would save so much time. If there's 10,000 churches and you guys all spend an hour a week, that's 10,000 hours a week. Just write it there, it would save us time. So we're gonna do that, all right? The second thing that we're gonna do to add more biblical depth is we're gonna ensure that when we have a bottom line in the curriculum, it ties back to the story that's being taught. Because sometimes I've heard from you that you're frustrated because it's like, this bottom line can just feel a little disconnected from this. Oh, wow, okay, like, some people down here think it's a good idea. I just got here, okay, so I'm the new guy, all right? Like, I'm just smart enough to listen to 100 of you tell me that this is what we should change. So You guys told me, we're changing it, we're doing it, all right? And then the third thing is we are gonna ensure that when we teach virtues, that a virtue should be expressed properly as something that, a change that God has made in our heart, and that should therefore be worked out through our actions. That is what a virtue should be. We don't want to teach good behavior. Like, that's not following Jesus, right? What we want to do is ensure that when Jesus has changed us and we become a follower of him, our behavior should follow. It should change, right? Like, that's what it means to have a true virtue. So that is the third thing that we're changing in the curriculum, okay? Now, I was thinking about this and I was like, you know what? If I just tell you all that, you're gonna say, Chris, you're not really serious about it. So what I wanted to do is I wrote this into a document that you guys are all gonna get. I signed my name at the bottom, and I've got the 5 things that we are committing to do, okay? And you guys are gonna all get a copy of this in your email, because I want you to hold us accountable to ensure that we deliver on the promises that we're making here on stage tonight. And at the bottom it says you have a commitment to us, okay? And the commitment that I want you to make to us is that this should be a partnership. This is not a customer relation, I don't know what all that means, right? What this is a partnership. And after having met with 100 of you over 60 days, the number one thing that I heard from you is like, this just shouldn't be like, here's some stuff, good luck. What this should be is like, let's partner together, because the mission that we have is too important to get it wrong. And so we want you to give us feedback, all right? We want to hear from you. We want to hear what you have to say. And when we don't live up to these standards that I just held up, we want you to call us out on it, because it's a partnership, and together we actually have to achieve these things. So those are the 5 things. So the last thing that I want to kind of introduce you to is that we are going to start innovating again as an organization, because what Leslie is saying is we want to also have the kite. This is the anchor, and what we're going to hear now over the next kind of few minutes is where we're going and what we're doing.